You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Thought today was a good opportunity to pull back and do the 10,000-foot view on LSU. You're coming off the Alabama loss, which we dissected a lot on Monday. Your primary goals for this season are off the table. You can't win the West. You can't go to Atlanta. You're not going to make the playoff. You can't win a national championship. All those things are now officially no longer there. And I know there's a lot of people upset about it, the defense playing the way they are, and a lot of the explanations that came Monday. And I'm not saying you're wrong for any of those things, but sometimes, as I'm fond of saying, perspective matters. And when you pull back and take the 10,000-foot view, sometimes you get a different perspective. As they say, you can't see the forest through the trees. Brian Kelly talked a lot on Monday about going from good to great to elite, which is what this program really is seeking to do. And he talked about this on Monday, some of the attention to detail that needs to come into factor.
It's not about talent, it's about talent and traits. And building traits where there's an attention to detail has to happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just don't show up on Saturday and go, you know what? I'm going to have attention to detail today. So that's the process that we're in within this program, that when you have a tutor's appointment at 9:30, you don't show up at 10:30. You show up at 9:25. Or when there's a meeting that is at 2 o'clock, you don't show up at 1:59. It takes consistency and building those habits. We're working on that. We are not a finished product.
We're working on that. We're not a finished product. You heard him say it over and over and over again on Monday. He was asked, has this been harder than he thought it would be building LSU?
This was going to be hard work, and I felt like it was, but it's been matched with the want to and the desire to do it. Being elite is hard. And if it's just the level of good, we're pretty close to being that. We've lost 3 times to top 10 teams on the road. If you want to be elite, you got to beat those teams on the road. We beat a top 20 team in Missouri on the road. That's good. You lost to the teams you're supposed to lose to. You beat the teams you're supposed to win. We're not here for that. So to get to elite is really hard, and these guys are working towards that. It just takes some time.
You heard that as a familiar refrain. It just takes some time. It just takes some time. So how much time? That's kind of what I wanted to delve into a little bit. And I went back and looked at Brian Kelly's history. For example, when Brian Kelly took over at Central Michigan, he took over a team that was 4-7. I'm not trying to bore you with this history lesson, but I think this will provide some context and some evidence for where LSU was, is, and where they might be going. So he goes to Central Michigan. He takes over a team that's 4-7. He goes 6-5, and then 9-4 after that. Forgive me. He went 4-7 year 1, 6-5 year 2, then 9-4 year 3. So he went 4, 6, 9. He built year to year to year. Year 3 was his big year, and then he gets the Cincinnati job. Year 1 in Cincinnati, they win 10 games. They go 10-3. Year 2, they go 11-3. In year 3, they go 12-0. He inherited a team that was 4-7. So they went from 4-7 to 10-3, 11-3, 12-0. Year 3, they had the undefeated season. He gets the Notre Dame job. He inherits a team from Charlie Weiss that went 6-6 in 2009. So again, Notre Dame, 6-6 in 2009. They fire Charlie Weiss. They bring in Brian Kelly. Year 1, he goes 8-5. So inherits 6-6, he goes 8-5. Year 2, 8-5. Year 3, they go 12-0 and play Alabama for the national championship. What was pretty consistent, and I didn't count Grand Valley State, but Central Michigan, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, each of those situations, it was year 3 when they went kaboom. 4-6-9 at Central Michigan. At Cincinnati, 10-11 to 12-0. Notre Dame, 8-8 undefeated, playing for the national championship. As Brian Kelly said, it takes time. And even before the season, he said, we're a year away. Now, I scoffed at that because I thought this team was going to be good enough to compete for a championship. And on one side of the ball, they are. I completely misjudged how bad this team was going to be defensively. And quite honestly, I think Brian Kelly would tell you that he didn't think they would be nearly as bad as they have been this year. But I think it's also important not just to look at where they are, but what they inherited to get where they are. And you know all of this, but sometimes when you paint this picture all as one in a sample size, it makes more sense. In 2020, you were 5-5. COVID year, you were 5-5. You allowed 34.9 points per game, nearly 35 points a game, which was the worst number in the history of LSU football. A year later, you go 6-7. You score 26 a game. You allow 26 a game. You fire Ed Ogeron. So in those 2 years before Brian Kelly showed up, you were 11-12. The 2020 signing class, the 2020 signing class, that group, right, which would right now be in their senior year at LSU. There are 3 players from that class that are still at LSU. Jacobian Guillory, Trey Bradford, who left twice and came back, and Marlon Martinez. That's it. The signing class that would have made up your senior class, 3 guys remain. When you look at Brian Kelly's first class, by the way, just as a quick thought on that 2020 class, here's the names. Just so you know what that experience was like of that class, which should be the veteran senior class of Brian Kelly's team. Eric Gilbert, Eli Ricks, Keyshawn Booty, Jaquelin Roy, B.J. Ojolari, Jacobian Guillory, Jordan Tolles, Philip Webb, Trey Bradford, Antoine Sampa, Marcus Dumerville, Josh White, Eric Taylor, Alex Adams, Ali Gay, Marlon Martinez, Cole Taylor, Xavier Hill, Dwight McGlothern, Coy Moore, Max Johnson, TJ Finley. You basically went a full year without a recruiting class. A lot of good players. None of them stayed here. So Brian Kelly comes in 2022. He signs 15 high school players and 15 transfers. Remember this. I'm going to say this out loud again. 15 high school players, 15 transfers. The same amount of transfers as high school players. His second class, 26 high school players, 14 transfers. So he increases the number of high school signees and about the same number of transfers. Right now, year 3, they have 26 commits and counting. They're probably going to push that number to 29 or 30, and you're likely going to sign single-digit number of transfers. So what you're seeing are those numbers invert. You're going to sign probably 3 times as many high school players as transfers, which is ultimately where you want to get. But for Brian Kelly to be able to compete his first 2 years at LSU, you had to go get guys that had played major college football. Otherwise, you're running out a roster of all freshmen. So they took advantage of the portal. They hit a year ago. They missed on a lot of guys this year. It happens. But all the while, they went from 15 freshmen his first class to 26 last year to they're going to sign about 30 this year. Last year, you went 9-3, 6-2 in the league with a bowl win. Of course, you lost the SEC championship game, but regular season. 9-3, 6-2, and a bowl win. If you win out here in the month of November, you're going to go 9-3 and 6-2 in the conference with a chance for a bowl win to get to 10 wins. Nobody involved in LSU football hangs banners because of 10-win seasons. Nobody celebrates 10-win seasons around here. It's not the goal. But when you realize that 2 years before Brian Kelly showed up, you combine those seasons to win 11 games, and you have a chance now to go back-to-back double-digit win seasons, yes, you are undeniably showing progress. Listen, I am never going to sit here, ever, and tell you to lower your expectation around LSU football. Ever. I'm never going to tell you expecting to win the national championship every year is too lofty a goal. That should be your expectation. And when it doesn't happen, you should be looking as to why. Now, it's not realistic. You're not going to win it every year, but that should be your goal every year. And when you don't get there, you need to take a very introspective look as to why and what you can fix to get there. I'm never going to tell you lower your expectation. I'm never going to try to tell you that being 97th in the country in total defense, 85th in scoring defense, 102nd in run defense, and 80th in pass defense is okay. I'm never going to sit here and tell you that that's in any way acceptable because it's not. What I will sit here today and tell you, though, is that the 10,000-foot view, the LSU football program today is unequivocally in a better spot than it was December 2nd of 2021 when Brian Kelly stood at a podium and was introduced as the LSU head football coach. That is not even debatable. And as his history has shown, year 3 at Central Michigan, year 3 at Cincinnati, year 3 at Notre Dame is when he hit the parabolic rise. What will year 3 at LSU look like? How you finish the month of November, your bowl preparation, your signing class, how all of this finishes points to the culture that Brian Kelly keeps talking about that he's trying to instill. So you want to be really optimistic about next year and moving forward? When you're faced with the disappointment of having your goals taken away from you, but you're looking at 3 more games at home, all 3 of which where you will be a big favorite, go take care of business, beat teams that are not as good as you, finish strong, and start pointing toward next year where maybe you have the same result he's had in his 3 previous stops in year 3. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.